Your colleague's report just landed in your inbox. It's not good. How do you say that honestly, without burning every bridge? Daily English Lab, the podcast where real conversations help you speak real English. Hey English learners and professionals, welcome back to Daily English Lab. I'm Lily.
And I'm Henry. And today we're talking about one of the most uncomfortable moments in professional life, in any language, but especially in English.
You have to tell someone their work isn't good enough, or their behavior in the meeting was a problem, or their idea needs significant changes.
And you want to be honest. You need to be honest. But you also need to keep the relationship intact, maintain the team dynamic, and still sound professional.
And you're doing all of that in English, which adds an entire extra layer of complexity, because English has very specific cultural norms around feedback that are different from many other languages.
Say it too directly and you sound harsh, even aggressive. Say it too softly and the message gets completely lost.
Today, we're teaching you how to land exactly in the right place.
We're moving beyond "good job" or "this is bad." Today, I'll give you the exact phrases, the psychology behind professional feedback in English, and a complete framework, the SBI model, that professionals use at the highest levels.
By the end of this episode, you'll be able to give feedback like a leader. Honest, constructive, clear, and kind.
Let's build that skill.
Before we talk about phrases and frameworks, we need to talk about something most English courses skip entirely: the psychology behind how English-speaking professional cultures give feedback.
Because if you understand why English speakers give feedback the way they do, the phrases will make much more sense.
There's a fundamental difference between what researchers call direct cultures and indirect cultures in communication.
In direct cultures, like Germany, the Netherlands, or Israel, honest, straightforward feedback is considered respectful. If something is wrong, you say it's wrong, clearly, without packaging.
In indirect cultures, like Japan, many parts of Asia, or the Middle East, the relationship is protected first. Critical feedback is often implied, hinted at, or delivered through a third party.
English-speaking professional culture, particularly in the UK, the US, Canada, and Australia, sits in an interesting middle position.
It values honesty and directness, but it also values emotional intelligence and relationship preservation.
So the result is a very specific style of feedback that is honest but softened, clear but kind, direct but diplomatic.
And if you come from a very direct culture, English professional feedback might sound vague or weak at first.
And if you come from a very indirect culture, it might still feel uncomfortably blunt.
Understanding this middle position is the first key to giving feedback that actually works in English professional contexts.
And that middle position relies heavily on what linguists call softening language, small words and phrases that cushion difficult messages without removing them.
The most powerful softening words in English professional feedback are just, a little, slightly, perhaps, and might.
Listen to the difference. Your report is wrong. Direct, harsh, possibly relationship damaging.
Your report is just slightly off in a few areas. Same basic message, completely different emotional impact.
The softeners, just, slightly, don't change the truth of what you're saying. They change how safe it feels to hear it.
The presentation was a little unclear in the middle section. A little. Softener. The message is still there. Perhaps we could look at this section again. Perhaps invites rather than demands. These small words are not weakness. In English professional culture, they are skill. They show emotional awareness. They show leadership.
A manager who says, "This is wrong, fix it," sounds reactive. A manager who says, "I think this section might benefit from a bit more clarity," sounds like someone worth working for.
Same information, different leadership quality communicated.
Learn the softeners. Use them deliberately. They are one of the highest value tools in professional English.
Now, let's talk about structure. Because good feedback in English isn't just about having the right words. It's about organizing those words in a way that is clear, fair, and actionable.
The most widely used professional feedback framework in English-speaking workplaces is the SBI model: situation, behavior, impact.
Situation. You name the specific context. When and where did this happen?
Behavior. You describe the observable action. What did the person actually do? Not what you think their intention was, what you observed.
Impact. You explain the consequence. What was the result of that behavior on the team, the project, or the client?
3 components. Each one essential.
The reason SBI is so powerful is that it removes the personal attack from feedback. You're not commenting on someone's character or intelligence. You're describing a specific situation, a specific behavior, and a specific impact.
You're always so negative in meetings. Character attack. Makes people defensive immediately.
In this morning's project meeting, situation, you challenged every idea the team proposed before they finished explaining it. Behavior. And the team became hesitant to contribute for the rest of the session. Impact.
Same underlying concern, but the SBI version is specific, observable, and focused on impact rather than character.
The person receiving it can't argue with the situation. It happened. They can't argue with the behavior. It was observed. They can engage with the impact, which opens a real conversation.
That's the goal of constructive feedback. Not to win an argument, to open a conversation that leads to change.
Let's build a complete SBI feedback statement, step by step.
The situation. In the client presentation on Thursday afternoon,
The behavior. You moved through the financial section quite quickly, without pausing for questions.
and the impact, and the client emailed afterwards saying they weren't clear on the budget breakdown. We may need an additional meeting to address their concerns.
Together. In the client presentation on Thursday afternoon, you moved through the financial section quite quickly, without pausing for questions, and the client emailed afterward saying they weren't clear on the budget breakdown. We may need an additional meeting to address their concerns.
No blame, no character judgment, specific, observable, consequential.
And notice the softening language working inside the SBI. Quite quickly, rather than too fast. Weren't clear, rather than didn't understand. May need, rather than now have to.
The framework and the softeners work together. SBI gives you the structure. Softening language gives you the tone.
The most skilled version of SBI adds a fourth element, an invitation. After you've described the situation, behavior, and impact, you invite the person into the solution.
How do you feel about that? Or what are your thoughts on how we could approach this differently next time?
This transforms feedback from a verdict into a conversation. And conversations are where real professional development happens.
SBI plus the invitation? That's feedback at the highest professional level.
Let's talk about the specific language tools that make professional feedback in English sound skilled rather than blunt or weak.
The first category, modal verbs. Modal verbs are the most powerful tools for professional softening in English. Must, should, could, might, would.
The hierarchy of directness in modals goes from hardest to softest. Must, should, could, might.
You must change this approach. Direct, commanding, can feel authoritarian.
You should reconsider this section. Still direct, but suggests rather than orders.
You could look at strengthening this argument, offering a possibility rather than a direction.
You might want to consider a different approach here. The softest and most professional. An expert suggestion, not an order.
In most professional feedback situations, you might want to consider, and it could be worth, are your most powerful openers. They position you as a thoughtful colleague rather than a critic.
It might be worth revisiting the timeline on this. Not, the timeline is wrong.
Same message. One sounds like a superior criticizing. The other sounds like a trusted colleague thinking out loud.
Let's build your professional feedback phrase bank. These are the exact phrases that appear in high-level English professional feedback conversations.
For opening feedback, I wanted to share some thoughts on collaborative, positions feedback as shared thinking.
I noticed that observation-based opener, factual, not evaluative.
One thing I've been thinking about is thoughtful, considered, not reactive.
For the substance of feedback, it might be helpful to gentle suggestion.
I wonder if we could collaborative exploration.
This is working well, and I think it could be even stronger if classic positive growth framing formula.
For checking understanding and opening dialogue, how do you feel about this? Invites emotional engagement.
What's your sense of how this is going? Open, curious, non-threatening.
I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Positions the other person as a valued voice.
For closing feedback and looking forward, moving forward, it would be really helpful if future-focused, not dwelling on the mistake.
Going forward, what do you think would work better? Collaborative solution finding.
I'm confident we can get this to a great place. Ends with belief in the person. Essential.
That closing sentence is more powerful than people realize. Feedback that ends with expressed confidence in the person lands completely differently from feedback that ends with the problem.
End with the person's potential, not their mistake. Let's put everything together with a real role play. Henry, you're going to play Marcus, a team member who submitted a project proposal that has significant problems. I'm going to give feedback twice. First, the wrong way, then the right way.
Ready. I'm Marcus.
Marcus, I read your proposal. Honestly, it's not what we needed at all. The budget section doesn't make sense, and the timeline is completely unrealistic. I don't know what you were thinking. This needs to be completely redone before I can show it to anyone.
Okay, that version is technically honest, but let's break down everything that went wrong.
No specific situation named. It's not what we needed? Vague.
I don't know what you were thinking. Character attack. Implies incompetence or poor judgment.
Completely redone? Overwhelming. No guidance on what specifically needs to change.
No invitation, no dialogue, no expressed confidence in Marcus. Marcus walks away feeling criticized, not developed.
He might fix the proposal, but the relationship has a crack in it now, and his confidence has taken damage.
Same scenario, same underlying problems. Professional version.
Marcus, thank you for getting this to me. I know you've been working on it under a tight deadline.
As Marcus. Of course. What did you think?
I wanted to share some thoughts. There are some strong elements here. The market research section is really solid, and the executive summary is well written. I think the proposal has a good foundation.
Thank you. I'm glad the research section worked.
I noticed that the budget section might need a bit more detail in a few areas. In the version you submitted, the Q3 allocations aren't broken down by department, and that's something the board will almost certainly ask about. It could mean we'd struggle to get approval at the first review.
Ah, I see. I wasn't sure how detailed they needed it to be.
Completely understandable. It might be worth looking at last year's approved proposal as a reference for the format they prefer. And on the timeline, I'm wondering if the launch date in week 6 might be slightly optimistic given the testing phase. How do you feel about building in a buffer of perhaps a week or two?
Actually, that makes sense. I was worried about that too, but wasn't sure whether to flag it.
I'm really glad you mentioned that. Always flag those instincts. Moving forward, it would be helpful to have a revised version by Thursday, if that's workable. I genuinely think with those adjustments, this proposal could be really strong. You've done the hard work. These are refinements, not rewrites.
Stepping out of roleplay. The difference is night and day. And notice what Lily did structurally.
I opened with acknowledgement of effort. I named something specific that was working. I used SBI, naming the specific section, the specific gap, and the specific consequence.
Modal verbs throughout. Might need, could mean, might be worth, might be slightly.
I invited his perspective. How do you feel about? And he revealed he already had the same concern. That's what invitation does. It discovers shared understanding.
And the close? These are refinements, not rewrites. Restores confidence. Positions the work as almost there, not far away.
Marcus walks away knowing exactly what to fix, feeling respected, and still confident in his own ability.
That's the difference between feedback that develops people and feedback that just delivers verdicts.
Let's take today's essential phrases into the word tour.
Our first phrase is constructive. 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 Constructive feedback is feedback designed to help someone improve, not to criticize or judge. You could say, I want to offer some constructive thoughts on this proposal. Or, the most valuable feedback is always constructive, not critical.
Our next phrase is moving forward. Moving forward. Moving forward. It signals that you're focusing on the future solution, not dwelling on the past problem. You could say, moving forward, it would be helpful if we scheduled a brief check-in before submissions. Or, let's focus on moving forward rather than on what went wrong.
Our next phrase is, I noticed that. I noticed that. I noticed that. An observation-based opener that keeps feedback factual and non-accusatory. You could say, I noticed that the report didn't include the client's latest data. Or, I noticed that the meeting ran over time. It might be worth setting a firmer agenda next time.
Our next phrase is, you might want to consider. 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 The softest and most professional way to suggest a change without commanding one. You could say, you might want to consider restructuring the introduction. Or, you might want to consider a different opening to grab the reader immediately.
Our last phrase is, it could be worth. It could be worth. It could be worth. It could be worth. A collaborative suggestion that positions you as a thinking partner rather than a critic. You could say, it could be worth getting a second opinion on the legal section. Or, it could be worth piloting this approach with one team before rolling it out company-wide.
5 phrases. Constructive. Moving forward. I noticed that. You might want to consider. And It could be worth. 5 phrases that transform how you deliver feedback in English. Now it's time to use your English right here. This is Speak with Lily. Say your lines out loud, in your most professional voice.
Think of a real work situation where someone needed feedback. What was the situation? Name it specifically.
Good. Now describe the behavior you observed. Not what you think they were thinking, just what you saw.
Now tell me the impact. What was the result of that behavior on the project, the team, or the client?
You now have a complete SBI statement. Now soften it. Add one softening word. Just, slightly, a little, perhaps, or might.
Much more professional. Now add the invitation. How would you open the dialogue after delivering that feedback?
And close with confidence. How do you express belief in the person after the feedback?
That is a complete, professional, high-level feedback conversation in English. Well done.
Thank you for doing the hard work today.
Before we close, here is your feedback-ready checklist. Screenshot this or write it down.
Named the specific situation.
Described the observable behavior, not the character.
Explained the impact clearly.
Used softening language. Just, slightly, might, perhaps, could.
Opened with something that is working.
Invited dialogue. How do you feel about this?
Closed with expressed confidence in the person.
7 checkboxes. If your feedback hits all 7, you are giving feedback at the highest professional level, in English or in any language.
So, dear learner and professional, constructive feedback is not about softening the truth until it disappears. It's about delivering truth in a way the other person can actually hear and use.
Situation, behavior, impact, softening language, modal verbs, the invitation, the confident close.
These are not tricks. These are the tools of genuinely skilled professional communication.
And now they're yours.
Take care of your English.
And take care of the people you work with.
This is Lily.
This is Henry.
And you've been listening to Daily English Lab.
Bye for now.